Imagine waking up to find yourself running a race you never signed up for. A race where the finish line is shrouded in fog, and the path is littered with choices that could lead to triumph or ruin. What if every step you took revealed a truth about who you are, and the stakes were higher than you could ever imagine? This is the story of the race of life, a journey that will grip your heart and leave you questioning the paths you've chosen. The cold bit at Daniel's fingertips as he stood at the edge of a frost-covered field, his breath clouding in the pre-dawn air. He didn't know how he'd gotten there. One moment, he was drifting in his sleep in his cramped apartment. The next, he was here, standing on a dirt path that stretched endlessly into the distance. The horizon glowed faintly, a sickly orange hue that felt more like a warning than a promise of dawn. Around him, others stood in a ragged line. Men and women of all ages, their faces etched with confusion and fear. Some wore business suits, others pajamas, as if they'd been plucked from their lives without warning. A low hum vibrated through the ground, and Daniel's pulse quickened. Something was coming. A voice boomed from nowhere, deep and resonant, like thunder trapped in a bottle. "Welcome to the race of life," it said. "Run well, for the prize is everything you've ever desired. Falter, and you lose more than you know." The air grew heavy, pressing against Daniel's chest. He glanced at the woman beside him, her eyes wide, clutching a locket around her neck. Before he could speak, a deafening crack split the silence, and the crowd surged forward, driven by instinct or fear. Daniel ran, his sneakers pounding the dirt, his mind racing faster than his legs. What was the prize? What did it mean to lose? The path was narrow, flanked by towering hedges that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Their leaves were black, glossy, and sharp, slicing at anyone who strayed too close. Daniel's lungs burned as he kept pace with the others, their footsteps a chaotic drumbeat. He noticed patterns in the runners. Some sprinted recklessly, shoving others aside. Others paced themselves, eyes fixed on the path ahead. A man in a tattered coat stumbled, and the hedges seemed to lean inward, their branches curling like fingers. He screamed as they enveloped him, and then he was gone, the path swallowing his cries. Daniel's stomach churned. This was no ordinary race. As the hours blurred, the landscape shifted. The hedges gave way to a forest of gnarled trees, their roots twisting across the path like veins. The air grew thick with the scent of damp earth and something metallic like blood. Daniel's legs ached, but stopping felt like surrender. He thought of his life, his dead-end job, the dreams he'd buried, the people he'd pushed away. Was this race a punishment? A test? The voice hadn't spoken again, but its words echoed in his mind. The prize is everything you've ever desired. He wanted freedom, purpose, a life that mattered. But what would he lose if he failed? A fork in the path appeared, splitting into 3 trails. The runners hesitated, their faces pale in the dim light. To the left, a golden glow beckoned, promising ease and comfort. To the right, a rocky ascent led to a distant peak where something shone faintly. Straight ahead, the path descended into a dark ravine, its depths hidden by mist. Whispers filled the air, not from the runners but from the paths themselves, each murmuring promises. "Choose wealth," sang the golden trail. "Choose glory," called the peak. The ravine was silent, but its pull was magnetic, tugging at Daniel's core. He saw others choose quickly. Some ran toward the glow, others scrambled up the rocks. A young girl, no older than 16, stood frozen, her eyes darting between the paths. Daniel caught her gaze. "Which one?" she whispered. "I don't know," he said, his voice hoarse. But he felt the ravine's call, like a truth he couldn't ignore. Against every instinct, he stepped toward it. The girl followed, her footsteps soft behind him. The other runners' choices faded into the distance as the ravine swallowed them. The air grew colder, the mist coiling around their ankles like living things. Shadows moved in the fog, humanoid but wrong, their limbs too long, their faces featureless. Daniel's heart pounded, but he kept moving, the girl's presence a small anchor in the darkness. The ravine narrowed, its walls slick with moss, and etched with strange symbols that glowed faintly. Daniel's mind flickered with memories. His father's disappointed sigh, the girlfriend who left when he couldn't commit, the nights he spent staring at a ceiling that felt like a cage. Each step seemed to peel back a layer of himself, exposing regrets he'd buried deep. The girl spoke, her voice trembling. "My name's Lila. I ran away from home. I thought I could start over." Daniel nodded, unsure why her confession mattered, but feeling its weight. "I'm Daniel," he said. "I've been running from myself my whole life." A bridge appeared, barely visible through the mist. It was old, wooden, its planks warped and splintered. Beyond it, a faint light pulsed, not warm like the golden trail, but steady, like a heartbeat. The voice returned, softer now, almost intimate. "Cross the bridge and claim your prize. Turn back and remain as you are." Daniel's chest tightened. Remain as he was? A life of quiet despair, of missed chances? He glanced at Lila, her face pale but determined. "We cross," she said, and he nodded. The bridge creaked under their weight, swaying with every step. The mist thickened, and the shadows grew bolder, their whispers now screams. "You're not enough," they hissed. "You'll fail like always." Daniel's knees buckled, the words cutting deeper than the hedge's thorns. Lila grabbed his arm, her grip fierce. "Don't listen," she said. "They're not real." But they felt real, each out a blade. He focused on the light ahead, its pulse matching his own. One step, then another. The bridge groaned, planks snapping beneath Lila's foot. She gasped, clutching Daniel's hand. He pulled her forward, his strength fueled by something he couldn't name. They reached the other side, the mist parting like a curtain. The light wasn't a finish line, but a mirror, tall and frameless, standing alone in the ravine's heart. Its surface rippled, reflecting not their faces but moments. Daniel's childhood dreams, Lila's tearful goodbye to her family, choices made and unmade. Daniel stared, his throat tight. The mirror showed him laughing with friends he'd lost, building a life he'd never dared to chase. Lila's reflection showed her older, stronger, surrounded by love. The voice spoke one last time. "The prize is truth. See yourself and choose." Daniel's eyes burned. The truth was brutal. He'd spent his life running from who he could be, choosing safety over courage. But the mirror also showed possibility, a path he could still take. Lila's hand trembled in his. "What do we do?" she asked. He took a breath, the air no longer heavy. "We live it," he said. "The race isn't over." The mirror shimmered, and the ravine dissolved, replaced by the field where they'd begun. The other runners were gone, the hedges silent. Dawn broke, real and warm, painting the sky gold. Daniel and Lila stood together, the weight of their choices settling into their bones. They didn't know what came next, but they knew it was theirs to shape. The race had stripped them bare, but it had also set them free. As they walked away, the path stretched ahead, not a race, but a journey. What about you? Are you running a race you didn't choose? Chasing a prize you don't understand? The truth is, the race of life isn't about crossing a finish line. It's about the choices you make, the paths you dare to take. Look in your own mirror. What do you see? Share your thoughts below, and let's keep this journey going. Subscribe for more stories that make you question, feel, and grow.